On the planet Pandora, an alien race known as the Na'vi live in harmony with nature. However, they're in constant danger of being invaded by humans, who have tried to conquer their land in the past. Brothers Loke and Netayam are flying together on creatures called Ikran. After having lots of fun, the siblings discuss Netayam's death and hug tightly. The vision ends when Loke disconnects his body from the spirit tree, and he still feels responsible for what happened to his brother. Meanwhile, Kiri and Spider wish they could connect to the tree too. Spider can't because he's human, and Kiri can't because she has seizures underwater. At the reef, Jake and his kids are cleaning all the weapons and debris that fell in the water after the last human attack. They bring everything back to the village, but leader Tanowari and his pregnant wife Ronald don't approve of human weapons. Jake points out that he can't bring down helicopters with spears, so Tanowari asks him to ride the legendary beast known as the Great Toruk again. Jake refuses, saying that riding a beast makes you act like a beast. Later, the kids go swimming with Payakan, an outcast Tulkun who was exiled from his pod. The kids are grateful for his help fighting the humans and promise they'll stay together forever. That night, the family is awakened by an alarm from Spider's exopack. He's suffocating because it's running low on oxygen. Everyone searches for the spare and finds it just in time to save him. The next day, the wind traders arrive at the village with plenty of goods to share. Jake and his wife Neytiri decide that Spider should leave with the traders so they can take him to High Camp, where he can live safely with other humans. They don't think he can survive in this area anymore. Spider and all the kids are furious, but their parents don't change their minds. Jake at least offers a compromise. The whole family will take Spider to High Camp as a last adventure together. The Wind Traders leader points out he doesn't want to take sides in the clan wars, but Jake convinces him to take them by promising to guard their ships. Thanks to the family traveling on the trading ships, the human army base easily picks up their location. Colonel Miles, who used to be human but now has a Na'vi body, tells his men to get ready for battle. Sometime later, the ships find themselves under attack from a clan known as the Ash People. Their arrows are on fire and soon cause damage to the aircraft. Jake gets on his mount and opens fire with human firearms while the traders shoot arrows with the ship's big crossbows. Soon both sides are losing multiple warriors and the flames spread on the ships, so the kids rush to put them out. Loke's mount is shot by an arrow and he has to jump to hold on to the ship while watching his beloved companion fall to its death. Some Ash People invade the ships and the traders have to fight hand to hand. Spider manages to hit an enemy with a few arrows, but the Ash warrior still overpowers him, so a trader has to attack the invader from behind to save the child. Other Ash warriors are landing on the balloons that hold the ships to destroy them, so Jake comes after them to shoot them down. Ash leader Varang sets one of her warriors on fire and sets him to the globe, which explodes on impact. Jake tries to run away but ends up stuck on a rope. Thankfully, his ride comes back for him before he falls. Since the ship is starting to go down, the kids get on an Ikran to escape. They fly to the end of the ship so Loke can jump to join them. Varang shoots Neytiri with an arrow, so Neytiri flies toward her and a vicious fight begins on top of their mounts. After exchanging several blows, Neytiri is knocked off her Ikran and she falls into the forest. She survives thanks to the vegetation softening her fall. The ship crashes in the forest too, killing several traders. The kids try to fly away, but an Ash warrior shoots their mount, causing them to crash too. Spider's exopack is running out of oxygen, so Loke will take him to the crashed ship to look for the spare while Kiri stays with Took. The Ash People have surrounded the crash site to kill the survivors and loot the goods. They even cut the survivors' neural cues before murdering them. Loke and Spider watch the massacre from behind the bushes, however they have to run away when the Ash warriors see them. The boys reunite with their sisters to run together, but Loke slips and falls. When two enemies get too close, he opens fire to kill them. Varang and her whole team check on their fallen warriors and she's confused to find a bullet, since she never saw one before. The group runs after the siblings, who jump into the river to escape. The current is strong, but they manage to stay together until they make it to the shore. Now they'll take a longer route to the crash site to hopefully stay hidden and find the spare exopack. Meanwhile, Neytiri is found and rescued by her mount. At the same time, Jake is looking for his kids and finds the spare exopack near the crash site. At that moment, he's surrounded by Miles and another human soldier who also received a Na'vi body. They hit him a few times and tie his arms before asking him what happened, so Jake tells them about the Ash People. Since Spider is Miles' biological son, the story makes him worry about the kid, so he forces Jake to help him find him. In the middle of the forest, Spider collapses due to the lack of air. Inspired by the sight of nature around her, Kiri connects her neural cue to the ground and captures a floating creature, which she inserts in Spider's mouth and forces him to swallow. Then she commands the plants around them, which start to glow and cover Spider's body. Soon her body is glowing too and she has a seizure, so Loke disconnects her cue and the glow disappears. To the siblings' shock, Spider wakes up feeling well and able to breathe the planet's air. Suddenly fire arrows start falling around them. Loke quickly opens fire and the other kids try to fight, but the Ash People easily surround them and capture them. Jake and Miles also arrive and watch from the bushes as Varang looks at the human weapon and asks Loke to teach her to use it. She threatens to kill Took when he refuses. Jake sneaks around and brings down a guard before jumping in to fight the group. He manages to bring a few down, but he's overpowered, so Miles also comes out and shoots an Ash warrior before threatening to kill Varang. The warriors drop their weapons and Jake reunites with his kids while Miles tries to retreat with Varang as his hostage. However, she reaches behind her and connects her cue to Miles, causing him to freeze. The warriors quickly bring Jake down and go after the soldier in the bushes, who immediately runs away. Varang forces Miles to teach her how to use firearms, so Miles shows her all the steps and Varang is excited when she gets to shoot things. Meanwhile, Neytiri makes it to high camp and the Na'vi rush to take care of her injuries. Moments later, Varang and her people are celebrating their victory, which will conclude by sacrificing their hostages. Kiri connects her cue to the ground and makes some plants shoot sedative darts at the guards. Now the group can take their knives to break free and run away. By the time Varang notices they're missing, the group has already crossed the river. The next morning, Neytiri and her allies arrive in the forest to rescue Jake and the kids, but Miles is already gone. He returns to the human base and tells the scientists about Spider, whose ability to breathe the Pandora air may be the key for humans to conquer the planet. In high camp, the Na'vi's human allies run some tests and discover that Spider has the forest organisms inside his body, which have changed his chemistry. There's also something growing on the back of Spider's head. In the meantime, Kiri connects with the spirit tree and tries to ask the goddess about what happened with Spider, but a strong wind keeps pushing her back. Kiri starts to convulse, so the others have to disconnect her. When Kiri is feeling better, Jake and Neytiri agree it's time to tell her the truth. She was born from the Na'vi avatar body of a human named Grace, and she's genetically identical to her mother, but she never had a father. Grace had connected to the spirit tree, so they think the goddess planted the seed in her womb. Kiri wonders why the goddess won't talk to her if she's technically her daughter. Later, Jake tells Neytiri that he's worried about humans using Spider for their benefit. Neytiri thinks they should kill the kid, but Jake refuses and decides that the family will go back to the reef to stay hidden. On the Eastern Sea, Captain Mick and his crew are hunting tulkuns. By shooting their weapons, they kill an enormous beast while ignoring the cry of its children. They bring the tulkun into their ship and use it for experiments. Eventually, the family returns to the reef and their daily routine. Spider is excited to discover that the thing growing in his head is his own cue. One night, the council gathers to hear the tulkuns. They're peaceful creatures, so they aren't happy that Payakan attacked humans to avenge his mother and decide to banish him for life. Payakan swims away in sorrow and Lok immediately protests, reminding everyone that Payakan helped them fight the humans and even saved a few Na'vi. The council doesn't like his attitude, so Jake drags him away and scolds him for not following orders. Jake also points out that if Lok hadn't disobeyed him last time, his brother would be alive. Overwhelmed with guilt, Lok runs away. Neytiri tells Jake to go after him and Jake refuses before admitting he blames himself for Neteyam's death. They start arguing and Neytiri keeps hating on humans, saying they should have killed Spider when they found him as a baby. Jake thinks Neytiri can't keep living with all this hate inside her and reminds her that he used to be human too, which has made her kids a bit different. Meanwhile, Lok goes to the shore with a gun and tries to self-delete, but he can't do it. Kiri and Siraya find him and comfort him. They also reveal they've found Neytiri's lost bow while diving and convince him to repair it. The next day, Kiri teaches Spider to connect his cue to a creature and they go swimming together. In the forest, Miles and his soldiers have captured a group of Na'vi and are burning their village with flamethrowers while asking about Spider. Since nobody knows anything, Miles decides to search for the Ash people. As soon as he reaches the desert, the warriors attack him and capture him. They find his weapons in a bag, so he explains he's brought gifts for their leader. They take him to see Varang and he shows her the weapons, promising to bring her as many as she wants. When Varang is about to connect their cues again, Miles makes a gesture and a hidden sniper kills a warrior. Varang takes Miles to her tent and forces him to inhale some white powder. He starts to see weird colors while Varang shares that the goddess never helped her clan, so she embraced fire instead. After she slashes Miles' chest for fun, he points out that the two of them want the same thing, to set this whole world on fire. They could be fearsome leaders together, so Varang agrees to team up. Soon the human soldiers arrive with plenty of weapons and Miles teaches Varang how to use a flamethrower. She has fun burning down other tents before dragging Miles to her own to get naughty while the Ash warriors learn to use firearms too. That night, Lok gives Neytiri her fixed bow. After they hug, Lok announces he's leaving because there's something important he must do. The next morning, Siraya realizes that Lok left to look for Payakan, so she and two friends also leave to find him. In the evening, Lok and his mount have to swim through brutal waves to advance, but they never give up. In the meantime, Miles and Varang keep attacking villages with their soldiers and torturing the Na'vi until they finally get the information they need. In the forest, Kiri and Spider continue to bond and end up kissing. On their way back, they're suddenly surrounded by the Ash people, so they start running away. To protect Kiri, Spider pushes her and acts as bait, which allows Miles to catch him by surprise. While Miles holds Spider, Varang connects her cue to his to knock him out. In the bushes, Kiri watches the attackers fly away with Spider and rushes back to the reef to warn her family, but it's already too late. The invaders are here. Miles, Varang, and their soldiers land on the shore and demand to see Jake, who tells his family to leave without him. Neytiri refuses and sends her kids away before joining him. Tired of waiting, a human ship starts burning down the village. Jake comes forward and says he'll go with Miles if he promises to leave his people alone. However, Miles wants to have Neytiri too. Jake refuses and threatens to start a battle, pointing out that if Na'vi fight other Na'vi, the human ships won't know the difference and will shoot allies. Miles understands and agrees to take only Jake. The group flies to the human base and the soldiers almost open fire at them, but they realize that the Ash people are with Miles. The general doesn't like that the enemy is here and wants to kick them out. However, Miles reminds her that he's achieved victory thanks to them and gets the crowd to cheer for him. In the lab, scientists start experimenting on Spider to understand why he can breathe. The next day, Siraya and her friends find Loke, who notices something in the water. A closer look reveals some very hostile creatures who soon attack him. Loke and his mount swim as fast as possible while the enemies keep throwing their tentacles at him. A chase ensues and Loke defends himself with his spear, but the creatures still manage to capture his mount and he's forced to keep swimming alone. Loke hides in the coral reef, however a tentacle reaches in to break his spear and another one grabs his body, so he cuts it with his knife. Unfortunately, the beasts keep coming and Loke thinks it's over, but at that moment some Tulkuns show up and eat the attackers as Loke passes out. Minutes later, Loke wakes up on the surface because he's been saved by Siraya. At the human base, Spider is locked up in a cell. He tries to destroy the window but it's unbreakable. Miles comes to check on him and keeps calling him his son, however Spider refuses to acknowledge him as his father. Then Miles distracts him with stories of his late mother and before leaving, he gives him his dog tag. Now Spider can use it to pick the screws and open the vent to escape the cell, dropping the tag on his way out. By nighttime, Loke and his friends finally find Payakan, who is bad news. His entire clan has been massacred by Mick, and only one survivor remains. She still has harpoons stuck in her body and can barely move. Back at the base, Mick and his team tell the army that the Tulkun will gather for a ritual during the upcoming eclipse, so it's the perfect opportunity for a big attack. Biologist Ian is against this idea, but his concerns are ignored. Meanwhile, Jake is being held in a cage outside and treated by the public like a zoo animal. Jake comes to tell him that he'll be executed in a big show in 6 hours. Jake tries to make him understand that this world deserves better and that there's a lot he could learn in his Na'vi body, but Miles ignores him and leaves. Meanwhile, Neytiri is tired of waiting, so she grabs her bow and finally agrees to take Jake's explosive arrows. Moments later, she's sneaking through the forest and surprises a group of Ash warriors, quickly shooting them down to get their electronic tags. Then she dresses up as an Ash person and flies toward the base, where the soldiers let her pass because the stolen tag marks her as an Ash warrior. Neytiri carefully sneaks around and surprises Varang in her tent with a knife to the neck. Varang tells her where Jake is before defending herself, but they're interrupted by Miles, so Neytiri is forced to run. She brings down any warrior in her way and quickly returns to her mount. Then she starts flying around the base and shooting the explosive arrows to cause several explosions. Soon Varang and her warriors get on their mounts and chase after her while shooting their new firearms. Neytiri dodges the attacks and sends her creature down a narrow passage to escape where Varang can't follow. The scientists discover that Spider is gone and put up wanted signs. Suddenly Ian uses a bulldozer to bring down a big screen and break into the execution area. Soldiers open fire but bullets do no damage to such a mighty vehicle. The bulldozer destroys the cage and Jake runs to hide under it so they can move together to escape. On the way out, the bulldozer destroys a tower that blocks the lane. Afterward, Jake runs away with Ian, who tells him about the big plan for the eclipse. When they try to run through an open area, a helicopter sees them and opens fire. The duo splits and Jake makes Ian to leave without him. Suddenly Spider comes out of hiding and stands in front of Jake, knowing that the soldiers won't shoot because they need him. While Jake and Spider run together, Neytiri arrives in her mount and shoots the helicopter down. The fire provides cover for Spider and Jake to join her and fly away. In the morning, the trio lands by the river to rest. Jake tells Neytiri that he can't protect Spider anymore and if the humans catch him again, it'll mean the end of their world. Jake then takes Spider to the forest and puts a knife to the kid's neck while praying to the goddess. Spider wonders if he loves him and Jake assures him that he does, but he has no choice. Jake raises his knife but in the end he can't do it and hugs Spider instead. Soon Neytiri also comes and apologizes to Spider for how she treated him. The couple agrees to find another way. Afterward, Jake climbs the mountain to finally encounter the great Toruk, who helped him fight in the past. Jake connects his cue to the beast and flies back to his people to tell them the day has come to fight. Everyone is impressed by the sight of the great Toruk and flies out to gather allies from other clans, carrying the message of the Toruk tamer. Eventually, Jake stops at the sea to talk to the Tulkun elders, asking them for help. However, the Tulkuns refuse to fight because they think violence only creates more violence in an endless circle. At that moment, Loke's group shows up with Payakan and the wounded Tulkun, who begs the elders to fight because she doesn't want another massacre. The elders say they'll discuss it before they disappear in the water. At the base, the soldiers are organizing their attack. When Miles tries to join them, the general announces he's not welcome because all his plans have only made things worse. When the human ships finally arrive at the reef, the adults make the kids hide in a cave and Loke is in charge of guarding them. A bright light above the current creates a magnetic field and Mick takes a closer look to discover that not all the Tulkun are here. He tells the soldiers to wait and hide, but it's too late. The Tulkun elders have agreed to fight and surprise the army by jumping out of the water. Their huge bodies land on the ships and destroy them, killing several people in the process. The Na'vi see this as their sign to come out and join the fight. They break windows on underwater vehicles to sink them, insert their spears and arrows into engines to make them blow up, and use their mounts' claws to throw drones away. The humans open fire and manage to bring a few Na'vi and Tulkuns down, but it's clear that the locals have the upper hand thanks to their knowledge of the terrain. Some Na'vi even jump on the ships themselves to stab the humans while looking them in the eye. Unfortunately, Miles and the Ash people arrive on their mounts and fight against Jake's army. Since they have firearms and the speed of their beasts, they overpower the good guys and start killing them without mercy. Kiri can't stand the sight of this massacre and jumps into the water, so the others try to follow her. However, human boats are coming, so Lok swims away with his friends to distract them while Spider and Took keep searching. Underwater, Kiri connects to the tree and tries to talk to the goddess, which causes another seizure. Soon Spider and Took arrive and connect to the tree too, helping Kiri move through the vision so she can finally reach the goddess and ask for her help. At that moment, a missile hits the tree and the connection ends. On the surface, the battle continues with terrible losses on both sides. Varang runs out of ammo, so she uses a flamethrower to burn the wing of Neytiri's mount, making her crash. In the water, Payakan is knocked out and Ronal is hit by a bullet. In the sky, Miles' attack causes Jake to crash into a rock and fall into the water. Jake and Neytiri manage to reunite when they resurface. Spider and Took also return, however they can't find Kiri. While Lok takes care of his father, Jake tells him he's proud of him. Neytiri sees Ronal struggling to float and brings her to the shore, where she helps her give birth. Ronal names the baby and asks Neytiri to protect her, then she dies with her child in her arms. Soon Spider dives in again to find Kiri, who is surviving thanks to a creature that attaches itself to her queue. Since Took has been left alone, Miles uses the chance to kidnap her. Then Varang and Miles capture Neytiri, who can't fight because they're threatening to kill Took. While Varang starts torturing Neytiri, Mick and his team go out on boats to kill the Tulkuns. At that moment, Kiri activates the tree again and communicates with all the underwater creatures, asking for their help. The animals immediately surround all the ships and boats and start destroying them with terrifying efficiency. At the same time, the great Toruk finally wakes up and roars to call its own kind, who arrive fast and attack all the helicopters. They destroy them or throw them at the ships, causing huge explosions. Thanks to the help of the wildlife, the heroes have the upper hand in the battle again, and Mick is finally killed by the wounded Tulkun. While the general orders her soldiers to evacuate, Jake and his kids sneak into the main ship to try to rescue their family. Spider comes out first and agrees to leave with Miles if he frees Neytiri. While they're distracted, Jake comes out too and starts fighting the Ash Warriors. Lok stays hidden to shoot enemies as a sniper. Varang tries to go after him, giving Neytiri and Took the chance to escape. A furious Varang immediately follows them and captures Neytiri. However, when she's about to kill her, Kiri appears and connects to Varang's queue. The power of the goddess is horrifying and Varang runs away in terror. Meanwhile, Miles gets Spider on his mount and they fly away. Jake quickly follows them, ordering his mount to attack Miles. In the struggle, everyone ends up falling from their mounts onto some floating rocks. The magnetic field starts to absorb the ships, killing any remaining humans including the general. This field is also pushing the rocks and causes Jake to fall again. Miles tries to take the chance to kill him, however Spider cuts in to act as a shield. When Miles refuses to back off, Spider shoots him in the arm. Then Miles and Jake start fighting hand to hand, jumping from rock to rock as the field continues to move them. Spider tries to get closer to shoot again, only for the men to accidentally hit him. He starts sliding down the rock and Miles manages to grab his arm just in time, but he slides down too and they end up hanging on a vine. Jake has no choice but to rescue Miles to save Spider too. At that moment, Jake's family arrives and gets ready to shoot, but Jake stops them. Miles just smiles and jumps off the rock into the burning inferno. Sometime later, all the Na'vi, including the new baby and the Tulkuns, connect to the tree to celebrate their victory. Payakan is happy because he's been accepted back by his people. Kiri guides Spider through the connection and they meet all the souls of the people who died in past battles, like Netayam and Kiri's mother. The Na'vi souls welcome Spider and tell him that he's finally part of their people as the entire planet glows with their energy.
Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.